Cool.
So who are you?
So I'm Mark Slee, lead product manager at Facebook. Been working on some of our new profile and homepage initiatives.
Yeah. And the homepage changed pretty radically.
Completely different, yeah.
Some people love it, some people hate it. But tell me a little bit about your philosophy and your team's philosophy of designing stuff.
Yeah. So I'll start pretty zoomed out with the really high level from the beginning of the project. So the new designs on the profile and homepage are things that we've been working on for a few months. And at the very start of the project, we kind of were figuring out what the mission was, what are we setting out to do here. So at the very highest level, the way we view Facebook is we think about it as a set of tools to help people share information and to communicate with the people that they're connected to in real life. So their friends, their family, their coworkers, all that kind of stuff. So given that that's what the site is oriented around, we took a look at, okay, two of the sort of biggest properties on the site. One is the homepage with newsfeed, and the other is everyone's profile pages. So the way we were kind of framing it and what we were looking to do is how can we make those, both of those are tools, how can we make them better for the goal that we're trying to achieve? So we want to make people be able to both consume more information that they're more interested in, but also produce more information, be able to communicate out better to their friends.
Right.
So one thing we were thinking about, all right, there's a bunch of different ways we could do that. What sort of product addresses this best? And a trend that we'd been focused a lot on, that we'd noticed sort of happening both on Facebook, but also at the internet, across the internet at large, was kind of the emergence of feeds as a structure and a way that people both produce and consume information. So obviously we'd seen this on our own product. We'd introduced Newsfeed over a year before that, and had really seen the difference that had made. People were just able to find all this interesting information that was always there, but this just really made it so much easier for them to find. They got more engaged with it. And one interesting thing that we noticed that happened as a result of that was that people actually started producing more information as well, not just consuming. Yeah. So they kind of connected the dots and realized by seeing all the stuff their friends were doing, people have an implicit understanding, oh wow, if I do stuff similarly, my friends are going to be able to see it. So you build up this understanding that the feed is powerful, and that it's not just something that you read, but that it's also sort of a tool that you can use to communicate.
Yeah. Where are we, by the way, right now?
We are in, this is 285 Hamilton. This is Facebook's sort of main engineering office.
Yeah.
We're spread across a bunch of offices in Palo at the moment.
One of my Facebook friends, Chris Putnam, sitting back there. You know?
Hanging out, hacking away on video, probably.
Yeah, he does the video stuff. That's actually an interesting place to go. So Facebook really is a bunch of different things, right? A lot of people just put video into it. Other people just put photography into it. Other people just want to troll around their friends list and and manage basically their Rolodex or their social graph, what you guys call the social graph.
Yeah.
How do you make that all work, and how do you make sure that it's a consistent experience from photography to video to the social graph, and how do you make sure that it's a consistent brand and a consistent feel to it?
Yeah, so that's actually that's a great question. It ties in really well to the sort of vision of feeds that we recognized. I think you actually just spoke to one of the things that we realized that we could do a better job with, was that the site, when it wasn't totally oriented around feeds, there was different places that all those different types of content would exist. So someone who loves taking photos, their profile would look very different than someone's profile who loves taking videos or who loves writing notes. And it made it difficult as a viewer of the site. If I came to someone's profile, well, I don't necessarily know which type of person they are, so I don't know if I should be going and checking out their video box or their photos box for the newest or the most interesting content. So feeds were sort of one of our answers to that. Yeah. That we wanted to take. We sort of accomplished that with Newsfeed. It gave you a stream of, well, it didn't matter if it was videos or notes or photos. We were going to show you the most interesting and recent stuff. We wanted to take that to the profile as well, so that people with their individual profiles have a feed that they can control, and it's really up to them what they want to put in it. If they want to put photos, they can continue doing that, and we want to make that easier. But we also want to make it easier to sort of, as you described, sort of mix a bunch of different types of content or just do one. So a lot of the new interfaces are really oriented around that. The biggest new integration point for applications through our platform lives right at the top of the profile. It's the publisher interface that you've probably seen on the new site.
Yep.
And the goal there was really to directly address this. Give every user a feed, give them an interface that any app can plug into to let them put whatever they want into that feed. So if people just like updating their status messages a lot, they can do that through there. If they upload a lot of photos, they can do that right through the publisher. If they upload videos, same thing.
Yeah.
And it really completely extends to any application on the platform. Can build any custom interface to make it as easy as possible for people to just dive in, share information on their profile.
Since most of our viewers have never seen a Facebook office, we didn't warn anybody here that we're taping,
we didn't.
And so there's a lot of noise.
There's
in the
people
background.
looking around, being like,
our
"What's
mics are pretty
going on
good,
here?"
so they're probably hearing just us, but there's a lot of movement around here.
Yeah.
What's it like to work here? Because you guys are a pretty young company. Our viewers don't know who Facebook is internally, right? We know the site, but tell me a little bit about what you guys work, what it's like to work here, and how that matters to design, how it matters to your work.
Yeah, so I mean, one thing that you can probably see looking around the office is a very open setup that kind of reflects, we talk a lot, company values about things we're trying to help in the world. Openness and transparency is something we try to achieve with our product. I think it's pretty accurate to say that we try to sort of work in a similar fashion as well. So the office setup and the environment's pretty collaborative. Product development pulls from a lot of different parts of the company. Engineering, product management, design, all kind of work together. Teams that deal with user experience, feedback from users. So we have a combination of both physical setup as well as we have a lot of internal tools and communication tools to basically foster that sort of model. So in a nutshell, that's kind of what I'd say the Facebook work environment's all about. Yeah. And obviously we use our product ourselves as well.
Back to design, when I was at Stanford interviewing some of their computer science professors, they really talked a lot about the new world of being able to test live and have that feedback inform your design teams, inform your product teams, and change the product. Tell me a little bit about how you're able to do A/B testing now and how that changes the way you would design a product.
So that's something that we employ in a bunch of different ways on really small scales and on really large scales. So I mean, some of the small stuff is little tweaks to pages to see, is this more likely to help a user register quicker or get ramped up? A lot of small things like that. But even with projects as big as this, changing the homepage and the profile, we're doing a lot of sort of live testing with those things as well. Some good examples are even through the development process, very early on with this stuff, we set up a page that users on Facebook could fan, give us feedback, putting up screenshots. So that was sort of very direct testing, where it's actually just ask the user, hear what they have to say, and we had over 150,000 users before the product was even released that had fanned that page and talking with us about it. Now even with the full rollout of this product, we're sort of staging it where users can switch back and forth, test things out. We've already had over 15 million of our users try out the new profile without it even being required in any way, purely opting in to test it out. So it's really, it's super useful. I think, having done this, it's really hard, as you say, for me to imagine working on a client, a product that we had to ship and that we couldn't test, just because so much of our decision making now is informed by starting from intuition, but then really seeing, okay, let's watch what users actually do with this. Let's understand how they use it, what works, what doesn't.
Yeah. You guys also are one of the few companies that give me a choice to go back to the old design, right? A lot of times when we get a new website design, we have no choice. We have to accept the new design. What did you learn from doing that? That people can go back to the old one.
Yeah, I think a lot of, there's a couple of pieces of that. One is that when we're making these changes, it's a lot easier to understand the changes in the context of what it's changing from, rather than just what's new. So I think we've seen, historically when things just change, it's difficult to even evaluate whether it's better or worse because you can't even remember what the old thing was right away. So part of it was really helping users understand the new features. So we think the ability to go back, it's not just about trying out the new thing, it's about trying out the new thing, then going back and seeing, oh wow, I couldn't even do that before. And really understanding what the value adds are, what are the new features, what sets it apart. So it certainly, it makes the transition easier for users to sort of see that and feel a part of the change rather than it seeming like just, a truck that's driven by and everyone got pulled along with it. and you know, so far the reaction's been positive. It also really helps with what you said with the testing. It allows us to gauge how people are responding by looking at that behavior around when are they opting in, how many times are they switching back to check things out, those sort of things.
Yeah. When I was over in Israel, we met with a group of high school kids, and all of them were like, Facebook is the hottest thing here, right? And when I went to London, same thing.
Yeah.
Everybody was like, Facebook, Facebook. What does it mean to design a product that's going to be used around the world by, I don't know, dozens or hundreds of languages and cultures and all that? What kinds of work do you do to make sure it works just as well in Israel as in China as in Japan? I mean, you guys are used worldwide. Right?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I'd say there's, I'd split that into two parts that we do. One's sort of the sort of technical setup and product design to make it not break, to make it work. So there's a bunch of things we've adopted there to sort of, you know, build layouts that can scale to different widths or that are going to make sense. But the bigger one is really what's the product value that we're offering. And you know, at its core, like I said at the very beginning, from day one, even when Facebook started at a college, limited to one college, the goal wasn't to help that college. The goal was to help people share and learn about the people around them that they care about. That's been true from day one, and we've always sort of thought about that and thought, you know, that's a goal that's useful to everyone. That doesn't know any bounds of age. It doesn't matter which country you're in. Fundamentally, that's a pretty human thing to want to connect with people and to want to share. So I think that's kind of, that's always guided our product design whenever we're doing things. We've got obviously, you know, limited resources at Facebook and a super vast array of things we could potentially do. When we're filtering through them, figuring out what we want to do, we always look for what is the thing that's going to just help humans connect and share the most. And that's what we go for. So I think with international specifically, we really don't try to think of it as like a totally separate market with people with different wants and needs. We're certainly sensitive to cultural differences and where implementations might need to vary, but the core mission is really something that has a universal appeal.
Interesting. When I talked with Mark back in January, Zuckerberg, the CEO and founder.
Not me.
Not you. He told me he studied psychology in school. How much does that matter to this? Because you're using a lot of language, like we have to understand how people work, how people actually behave. You know, it sounds like it's informing the design as well. So tell me a little bit about how you work into studying how people work.
Yeah, I think, I mean, one thing that we try to really keep in mind, it's easy to get caught up in the sort of high-tech world of Silicon Valley, and we, you know, naturally being a technology company, it's easy to think about all those things. But I think we really do a good job of keeping ourselves in check, and at the end of the day, thinking about the product that our users see. And though what we work on here is the technology behind that, what we're actually shipping is a product that people use. So what we're thinking about is not, you know, does it use JavaScript? How are we building this thing? But really, people are going to come to this. They're going to see something, and they're going to naturally feel or expect it to work a certain way. And so the questions are really, you know, what can we do to make their expectations be met, or what can we do to sort of set up the right incentives so that when they see this, they do things that are helpful for both themselves on the site, or that help them share more with their friends. And that's kind of, I think it's the same. The answer to this is sort of the same as the answer to the international question. It really just comes back to how can we build something that's going to make people want to and enjoy sharing information.
Yeah. I own both a Saturn and a BMW, and the difference between those is $15,000, right? And both cars are really pretty good, right? If you actually use them for a while. But it's amazing how the little things matter, right? For instance, the cruise control in the Saturn really sucks compared to the cruise control in the BMW. You can tell that the BMW team spent a lot of time making sure that was really a fabulous experience. Or even something as small as the trunk lid. The trunk lid on the BMW has a strip of rubber which makes your hand feel good when you put it underneath there. And the Saturn scratches your hand. It's a sharp edge, right? What are the small things that you guys have done that maybe other people wouldn't recognize, I guess, or even think that design was spent there? You know, Apple spends a lot of time on the box. You know, why do they do that? The box gets thrown away, right? What are some of the things that your team's focusing on that that might be unexpected, I guess?
I think there's, I mean, there's a lot of it. Facebook's always been sort of known for our focus on having like a clean, easy to use layout. And I think that it's interesting because people always say that, right? It has a clean design, but there's no sort of one or two things that they point to that, oh, this is why it's clean. It's just sort of that general impression, yeah, it's clean, it's easy to use. And I think that really is the sum of all the details that you're talking about. I think in some ways you can make an analogy to the long tail that people always talk about with content and things. I think that exists on our site as well. There's a long tail of a ton of little details in the product, a lot of little details in the UI, and all of those really add up to an overall impression that's a really powerful impression about the quality of the site, the ease of use. So I mean, even tiny things like spacing on the design of the feed, how are things laid out, exactly how many pixels are between things. When you look at any one of those in isolation, it doesn't seem very important, but they all add up into interface that you either enjoy looking at and want to see more of, or an interface that you want to get something out of, but it's frustrating. So we really don't want to get into that ladder cutter where we really strive for being in the first, where the interface helps you enjoy the content.
Yeah.
And so it's just a ton of details, as you said.
Yeah. What are you proudest of in the new design? What do you show your friends, or if you get to a design conference or something like that, what do you say, hey, look at this?
Yeah, there's a bunch of new things. I think the two that I'd highlight, one is the publisher interface on the profile. We're just really excited about that, and it's just taken what formerly on Facebook was a lot of good content creation flows that were spread across the site in different places. I'd go one place to do photos, one place to do videos, pulled those together into one interface that just really simplifies that experience, makes it a lot easier to use. That's one that I'd really point to on the production side. Makes it so much easier to share stuff. The other one's on the consumption side. A lot of these changes to newsfeed are just introducing really cool ways to consume information that you're really interested in seeing. So some of the examples you see on the news site is that there's different filtered views of the newsfeed now. So you can see your top stories, which is sort of the traditional newsfeed view. Or you can see just the stream of status updates from your friend. You can just see the photos. There's even some more advanced filters we've been adding recently to filter down to particular friend lists. So I just want to see stories from my family, or custom by any application type on the platform, just events or groups. So basically, we're taking that. It's really cool that we've taken that newsfeed interface that really revolutionized the site a couple years ago, and taking that to another level of users being able to interact with the feed and filter down to exactly what they're interested in.
Yeah. The purpose of our tour here is to get a little bit behind the scenes at Facebook. What kind of tools do you use to design Facebook? What's on your computer?
Yeah, so I think it's probably pretty standard what you'd see at most companies. Design stuff, obviously a lot of Photoshop, mocking stuff up, playing around with it. I touched briefly before on the internal tool stuff. We've got some cool tools for like sharing mocks and commenting on them between employees. It's interesting that some of those tools are pretty similar to Facebook itself in the way that they let employees share ideas, discuss them, push information around. Development stuff's pretty standard. We use a lot of the kind of Linux. Most people have Macs here.
You're on a PC.
I'm on a PC. I'm unique, but
which is funny because you're a designer. You're supposed to be like a Mac guy, right?
Yeah. Well, I got to do something different here and there, but it's a nice mix. We have a pretty open environment in terms of people are sort of our kind of goal for developers and anyone who works here is the tools should help you, not be we don't mandate anything. So you'll see a lot of people have really unique styles of how they like to work, how they like to set their stuff up, and it's pretty cool to just kind of wander around, see the different stuff people are working on. Yeah.
Any last thing that you'd like to tell me about what it's like to be working up here at Facebook and changing the world in such a dramatic way?
I can be. I'll do a pitch. It's a lot of fun. We're always hiring. People can come try to get a job, hang out with us. But no, I think it's super exciting. At the end of the day, we've got a great opportunity to really help change the way people communicate in the world, and it's just super cool to have that opportunity and to be a part of this. So.
Well, thank you so much for spending a little bit of time
absolutely.
with me.